You by Pearshell Financial Group.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Kristen McQuarrie, friend of the show, writing in the Tribune. Today's quiz: is there a Republican in the race for Chicago mayor? Which of the 14 candidates in the race for Chicago mayor best capture conservative principles of efficient government, low taxation, personal responsibility, and protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners? Just kidding, there isn't one. But she points out that in a race to, say, 15%, maybe less, of the vote to get to the runoff, the 135,000 votes Trump got in Chicago, for example, in November of 2016, which is only 12.5%, but in a race to 12 to 15%, 12.5% is a big number.
Yeah, you need every single vote.
So Republicans could actually impact the outcome of the mayor's race for the first time in a century by impacting who makes the runoff on February 26th. She points out we talked about, and I co-moderated a forum, candidate forum. 6 of the 14 showed up. Northwest Side Republican Club. The Northwest Side Republican Club and Chicago Young Republicans made an endorsement. They endorsed Willie Wilson.
Really?
Willie Wilson, I would argue, the one successful entrepreneur in the race. As McQuarrie writes of the endorsement, a businessman who understands the need to reduce taxes and grow Chicago, Wilson comes closest to representing Chicago Young Republicans' principles, says Chicago YR President Chris Myers. Quote, he would lower taxes and lower regulations to grow the economy in all neighborhoods. He also supports school choice, a property tax cap, and the abolition of red light cameras. McQuarrie adds, the support for Wilson actually comes from a genuine place of policy pursuit, not what have you done for me lately posture of establishment political parties. For them, we're talking about Republicans that have endorsed Wilson, Wilson offers a break from the status quo. And I'll tell you what, it's very interesting. All of the money that Bill Daley is piling up, and he just got $1 million from Ken Griffin.
Ugh. When did that happen? Yesterday?
Yeah, recently. I've seen polling recently that has Preckwinkle in the lead and Willie Wilson in second position. Wow. So we've said from the outset of this, in a crowded field, you could have a surprise. Wilson has run before. He's known, particularly in some of the black areas of the city. I'm sorry to say that we say black areas of the city, Latino areas of the city, because we're the most segregated city in America, which is another shameful reality in Chicago. And that surprise could come in the form of Willie Wilson, who, because of his success in business, has been able to largely underwrite his campaign and compete, not dollar for dollar, but compete on the airwaves with the likes of the Bill Daleys and the Tony Preckwinkles.
Yeah, I mean, he was invited to the Fox 32
yes, that's right.
debate. And there was no question. He was one of the top 5 that was there.
Very interesting times, and we're pleased to be joined again by the aforesaid Willie Wilson. Willie, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, Amy, how you guys doing?
Good. Good to have you. You seem to be doing pretty well, some momentum, and your reaction to the support from officially licensed Republican organizations like the Chicago Young Republicans and the Northwest Side GOP.
Well, I'm very appreciative of their support. I mean, I look at it not only as Democrat, Republican, but all citizens of Chicago. I mean, when you pay taxes, taxes goes up higher. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. I mean, you don't need these taxes going up when people are leaving out of their homes and leaving out of the city and leaving out of the state. So I'm inclusion. I mean, inclusion means putting all different department filled with Democrat, Republican, and other. It really doesn't matter. You know, I mean, we got a serious problem here. Taxes raised at 8 times, red light cameras, tax on bags, feed-in taxes, That's hurt us all. Well, we Republican, Democrat, and we should be concerned about it. And there's corruption. These politicians right now in office now need lock up. I just be honest with you. They need investigated and lock up if they caught doing something wrong.
Well, first of all, you got to find him. You got to find Danny Solis before you can lock him up.
He's in hiding because he was the snitch. So, Willie Wilson, how do you feel about the legalization of marijuana and what, if it does happen at the state level, how do you want where do you want the revenue to go?
Well, I do support it. One of my point. I don't think that someone should be locked up for using marijuana. I think if they got an issue or something like that in terms of drugs, they should be allowed to and go into a clinic, rehab. But for marijuana, look, locking up people for that and it costs $169 a day in prison, and you can't get out for $100. And you're in there for a year or two. But we would take the revenues, obviously. We got issue with pension, with fire department, police department, and school teacher. But that ain't the necessarily biggest problem. Biggest problem is this. There's a budget like $10 billion for Chicago. $7 billion is in payroll. Look, if a person make $100,000 a year just using this for Chicago, they end up making $200,000 or $250,000 in overtime. Cut out the overtime, get it from $7 billion, get it and check with San Francisco, maybe $3.5 billion. Save that money, put some of those dollars over there to help pay some of that pension, and open back up some of these schools. Make smaller schools, since a lot of people left out of Chicago since all these taxes. Make smaller schools to the neighborhood.
What about?
But we would use that. The rest of it is mismanagement. Open up the casino, open up the mag steel, things of that nature. And we pretty much got this budget under control. And don't forget about all the corruption that costs us billions and billions of dollars. It's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Yeah, I want my own hangar at Biggs Field when you reopen it. I want not my own, but I want it just named after me.
You got your names on it
named
already.
after
I like
me.
going
Yeah,
to concerts there,
Dan
though.
Proft hangar. So here's the thing. Going back to what you were saying, not only if you make $100,000 when you do the burden salary, it's $150. You throw in overtime, maybe you get to $200. Just the percentage of people in city government that make $100,000 that make substantially more than the median household that's financing them, and that's before you get to the gold-plated guaranteed seven-figure pensions. What about reducing headcount? And frankly, in some cases, reducing salaries, restructuring salaries for those not governed by collective bargaining agreements, because as you said, that's where a majority of the money is being spent. So if you want to start really producing balanced budgets, then you're going to have to address that.
Well, we don't have to address it. Look, I'm the only candidate in this race, by the way, who basically uses 99.99% of my own money.
Right.
And I'm spent somewhere like $1.3 million, $1.4 million, $1.5 million, somewhere in there of my own money to make sure that, look, I'm not going to be here bought for major corporations, things of that nature, or I'm not going to accept $1 million, $2 million from the union. I'm not going to do that. I'm running for the citizen of the city of Chicago. But you got to restructure this whole thing. Chicago is a big, big international city. And I am definitely pro-business. Pro-business means jobs and things of that nature. All right? So you got to get a hold of this budget. You cannot have a budget, let's say, a payroll 7% or 75% almost of your whole income. All right? So you have to go back and restructure this thing. You lower the taxes, then you bring international business into here. You bring business in the United States into Chicago. Then you lower taxes, you raise revenue. People don't go to Indiana and buy gas or go to Walmart and buy groceries. We are Chicago. The Indiana, Tennessee, Texas, look, those guys beating us out with jobs and everything. All right? But because our tax is too high, all right? But you got to get a hold of the structure of the whole scenario. And by the way, I would make my administration Republican, Democrat, and any other organization that is out here, the Libertarian, all of us, we will make them part of the administration and bring it together. We all got good ideas, and we can work and put them together and stop looking at labor of a party name or something of that nature there.
Yeah.
That's how you have to run it together. And then that way, everybody's inclusion. That whole budget thing gonna wreck us, if we don't get a hold of it. You have to deal with it. And the last on that subject there is that we got to deal with and bring the union and sit down and talk to the union, negotiate stuff the right way, and making sure it's everything's done fairly out here, and sit down and talk and work this thing out. Otherwise, we driving a car and don't have the experience.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good. I mean, getting rid of red light cameras, lowering taxes for businesses, but how are you going to generate revenue then for the city of Chicago? What are your
Well, they're going to be, well, look, I said a few minutes ago, the payroll is, $7 billion when a payroll should, and for a city of Chicago, comparable to others in other cities, you're like $3 or $4 billion. You got $2 or $3 billion right there. You got the rest of it in terms of management. You can take the casino, you can take the marijuana, you can take the mag field and rack up another $3 or $4 billion there. You can bid out the process when people come into the city, and instead of the same people getting the bid of the contract with no bid it out and get those costs down. You got crooked politician, like, okay, you got a politician right now talking about saving the city money and balancing budget, running taxpayer dollar up. You got people like Tony Prepwinkel, Mendoza, that ran for a job and getting paid for it, and now they're running for another job and ain't working on a job they're getting paid for.
I want to switch gears. Police, your position again on the future of Superintendent Eddie Johnson. If you were mayor, would you replace him? And what else would you do to increase the peace on the west and south sides of the city?
Well, I've always said this about, and I don't know Eddie Johnson, a person, nothing like that. I only shook his hand once, and I was at the police funeral back here 2 months ago. One of the two, they got hit unfortunately, by the train.
Right.
And I shook his hand the first time I ever shook his hand. I said anybody who's related to communication and taking orders or friends of Mayor Emanuel got to go. They got to go because he's doing what the mayor telling him to do. He's not standing up for the citizen in terms of as related to the mayor situation now. So that would have to take then ordinary go. I don't think the problem in Chicago is so much as the violence in pretty much in about 8 communities. So those 8 communities don't have jobs, don't have anything in them to survive but the drugs and things of that nature. But what you got to do, you got to take them and put the contracts and jobs in those communities, then the crime will go down. But what happened is that what take place is that when you take the resources out of a community and leave nothing in there, then you got issues. So I would take some of that $8.5 billion over here, some of that $2 billion for the the walkway from downtown to China, put $1 billion or $2 billion over there and create the job, and put the infrastructure together and create training and good rent so people learn a skill and they can get good jobs. That's where you bring the crime down, and you save more money because you ain't got to lock up people cost $169 a day, and they in there for a year, 2 or 3 years, and ain't got $100 to get out. That just show you how backward this whole thing is. I've gotten a lot of young men and young ladies out of jail, and I go back to the next 3 or 4 months, whatever it may be, they back in there. So they said, Doc, give me a job. We won't come in here because drugs doesn't pay. That's how we'll fix this problem.
Let me just take a step back. Perhaps there's a number of people listening that don't exactly know your background. They hear that you, as you just said, you've spent maybe $1.3 to $1.5 million of your own money, and they wonder, well, how has Willie Wilson become so successful? So just in brief, could you give us a little bit of your personal story and how you became so successful in business?
Oh, yeah. Well, I made 20 cents per hour picking cotton and chopping cotton. I ran away from home at 13, I'm from the Jim Crow days. And so we didn't have anything. I had 11 sisters and brother, and I wanted to get them out of there, my mother and father, and we were successful in doing it. Came to Chicago and worked for $2 per hour flipping hamburgers for McDonald's. And Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, I met him, and I asked him for McDonald's. And he said, well, do you have any money? And I said, no, sir, I don't have any money. I said, but I worked 10 years for McDonald's, and 5 of those first years, I didn't have a day off to learn the business. And so he said, okay, come with me. And we got started, and we got the first McDonald's. After that, 2.5 years, I owned 5 McDonald's. And I left there and started my own Omark Medical Supplies with some of the Fortune 500 companies we do business with. And we're like worldwide. We got 5 DCs in the United States, distribution center, a couple of them in China, and we shipped to Australia, Israel, and product disposable gloves and can liners. And we got a company. We worked it all our way up from 20 cents per hour coming down south. Today we have a $62 million company, and I'm debt free, no debt.
Wow.
And so we worked hard for it. We came to the era of here again, the Jim Crow days. I learned not to hate a person because of their color. Forget about that mess. Because if you begin to hate because somebody else hates you because of the color, you know better than they are. You know. So my mother said, don't ever hate people, just love them regardless of what you do to them. And so we learned to do it, but hard work, persistent, and the other thing is I have faith. I'm a Christian. I have faith, you know, and that's hard work. And people may think that might sound odd to them, but faith and hard work will get it. And I look, as when I become mayor of the city of Chicago, by the way, I would put silent prayer back into school.
Oh, really?
Faith and hard work is what gets it. That's what's, CPS could use both of those in much greater supply. He is Willie Wilson. Great story. I love the intersection with the founder, Ray Kroc, and how that launched your business career, in part at least. Willie Wilson, again, Willie, the website, if people want to learn more about your candidacy and campaign.
Yeah, go to williewilsonformayor.com, williewilsonformayor.com. You can learn a lot from me there. But I will say to the audience that listens to me today on this radio broadcast here is that a lot of people say what they gonna do. I said, look back in my past, what I've already done. That you make the right choice from that. Vote for me, point 22.
All right, Willie Wilson, candidate for mayor on February 26th. WillieWilsonForMayor.com is the website. Willie, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The